Cross-training is supposed to make runners less injury-prone. Most coaches and physios say the same thing. Add cross-training to boost your engine while lowering the injury risk. And honestly, it sort of makes sense. You build this great aerobic fitness without all that pounding from running. But here's the uncomfortable question. If cross-training is so good, why do most elite runners barely use it when they're healthy? And why do so many runners come back from a big cross-training block only to get injured almost immediately? I've seen this over and over again as a physio, and I've done this myself, getting a big injury, doing a lot of biking or other alternative training, coming back strong, but then just quickly get injured again. And that's a classic sort of cycle to get stuck in. And then I'm not talking about this stationary bicycle, I'm talking about the kind of injury loop or cycle or whatever you should call it, which eventually leads you to getting stuck on a bike. In this video we're breaking down this cross-training paradox, so you can understand exactly when cross-training helps and when it actually can increase your risk of injury instead. We have to split this video into two different kind of scenarios. Cross-training when injured as a complete replacement of all running and a way to lose as little fitness as possible during the injury period. And cross-training on top of your running when you're healthy and can run. Let's start with cross-training when injured. This at least most motivated runners do when they're injured. And they do some variant of cross-training, whether it's elliptical, cycling or swimming or deep water running. And it can be a great way to keep your aerobic fitness. Studies show this as well, like this classic study that compared water running, cycling and regular running for maintaining aerobic fitness over a 6-week period. The researchers found that the runners who completely replaced all running training with either cycling or deep water running maintained the VO2 max and the 2-mile running performance as well as the group who kept the running training. So based on this, at least over a 6-week period, you can switch completely to cross-training with probably losing very little or even no running performance and keep your general aerobic fitness. And this I have experienced firsthand myself as a teenager. I had a pretty serious injury to my knee that made it impossible for me to run for a whole winter. And as an ambitious young orienteering athlete, I turned to cross-training and trained even harder than I would have done if I could continue running, with lots of cycling and deep water running. So during this period I actually increased my VO2 max from 60 to 70 and came back racing way stronger than before the injury. So cross-training when injury is great, right? Well, yes and no, because this was also the start of many years of big injury problems for me. Because when you cross-train, as seen in my increase of VO2 max, the heart and lungs and mitochondria adapt relatively quickly, which can lead to great improvement in fitness, which is what I experienced. But the bones, tendons, fascia and ligaments and neuromuscular structures take longer time to adapt, and adapt specifically to the loads they are put under. If you keep pounding your feet to the hard ground thousands and thousands of times each day, with a progression in your training each week as well, which is what good running training basically is, then your tendons, your bones will over time adapt and get really strong to be able to handle that kind of load. And this is where runners often fall into what I would call the cross-training paradox. Because the cross-training that is supposed to save you from injuries might be a big part of what keeps you getting injured and injured over and over again. So we know that cross-training maintains your aerobic engine, but it doesn't load your tissues at all in the way that running does. Cycling or deep water running doesn't replicate those kind of impact loads at all. So after a big cross-training block, your aerobic system is ready to run and run fast with quite little effort. But your tissues are not. And this you only find out when you get a new injury, because the gap between what your structures can handle right now and how fit you are aerobically is quite large, and for most runners that huge gap is very hard to balance without getting a new injury, simply because running at paces and distances that feel really easy to you is probably way too hard for different parts of your body. So I got stuck in that kind of injury loop myself, with a huge cross training block, coming back with a massive aerobic engine, and then ran beyond what my tissues basically could handle. And a new injury often appears then. And then it just starts over again with a new cross-training block, and yeah, you see how it goes round and round. And this is not just based on myself. As a physiotherapist, I've seen so many runners that has gotten caught in the same kind of injury loop. But what does this mean? Should you just skip cross-training when you're injured and just lie on the sofa so your fitness drops just as much as your tissue tolerance? Honestly, for some people that might actually reduce the risk of getting stuck in this kind of cycle. But that's not what I actually recommend. Just for the mental aspect of being able to keep training and being active when you're injured, it is so important to keep being able to do something. And if done right, it can be a powerful way to keep that aerobic engine, because the real problem isn't the cross-training itself, it's how you return to running after it. When you come back, you need to have this in the back of your mind all the time, and it is better to be overly cautious coming back from one injury than getting stuck in this sort of injury loop. And not just be cautious with how much you run, but especially with how fast you run, because remember, you have this great engine, but your body is not really ready to match the paces that feels easy for you. So give your body several weeks to rebuild the impact capacity and your easy running volume before you start chasing those faster paces again. So how about adding cross-training on top of your running training when you're not injured? In theory, this should allow you to have more total training volume with less impact and less injury risk. And yes, this can be a great way to add extra training without the full load of running. But while doing too much running too soon is an injury risk, we also gotta remember that running is also the best injury preventive exercises you actually can do for running. Although I see so many other physios and coaches promoting strength training and cross training like it's the ultimate injury prevention tools. The truth is, although that those things can be good, that nothing builds running tolerance like running itself. And of course, nothing is as good training for becoming a faster runner as running. Which is probably why we see very few elite runners using massive amounts of cross-training when not injured. And also here we need to remember that if you add a lot of cross-training on top of your running, it is easy that you over time start running faster or harder on your fast workouts, because your aerobic fitness is being built from activities that don't build up the running resilience. If your aerobic fitness is built from running alone, it is much easier to match the tolerance for running with your aerobic fitness and easier to pace your sessions correctly. But with all this said, as with everything in training, it is not black and white. You gotta find what works for you, and for many, especially if you like cross-training, it can be a great addition, as long as you keep your running load sensible and not overdo it based on your aerobic fitness. Cross-training can for sure make you race faster if you use it right. Although I've seen quite few top elite runners use cross-training when they're not injured, there are examples of athletes doing it. One good example of someone that does a lot of cross-training successfully is world and Olympic champion Cole Hocker, who seems to do a couple of hours of cross-training each week. So adding cross-training on top of your running can for sure work, and he's a great example of that. But I would still say he's more an exception to the rule, because most elite runners choose to not do that much. But should you cross-train? My answer is no. If your body handles your current mileage well and your main goal is to improve as a runner, just run. But my answer is yes, if you enjoy cross-training or you hit the limit of how much running your body can safely handle and tolerate without getting injured, but still want to train more. But then you really need to respect that kind of mismatch that can happen between your aerobic fitness and your running tolerance. That might mean running your fast sessions a little bit slower than your engine really wants to. I would love to know what you think about cross-training. Leave a comment down below. Train smart, have fun, and I will see you in the next video.